Well, hello everyone, and welcome to the NX A to Z video on creating part families. For this video we're going to create a bracket and make it sort of adjustable. So what a part family is, a part family is essentially a standard part that you can create that is also adjustable. So when you add it to an assembly you can kind of configure it. And so the first step, I guess the key to this whole thing is expressions. You have to use expressions in your model to link the dimensions of the model to the configuration for the part family members. So I've got a bunch of expressions here. I went ahead and put these in beforehand rather than make you sit through watching me put these expressions in. To add an expression, you just type in the name, and then you type in the value. Just make sure that you've got the the type and then the subtype, I guess, if you want to call it, and then also the units before you hit so if you hit enter or the green check mark, it'll add the expression to the list. One thing to notice, these expressions here, these are actually constants, they're not lengths. And we're going to use these expressions, this double hole and single hole. These control the suppression state of a couple of the features that you're going to see in our part family later on. So add all the expressions that you see here in the screen. You can check the A to Z article, and there's a screenshot here so you can go through all these and add them. This example that I'm doing is actually from the help files, and I chose the help files. I chose to use that example just so that I could take advantage of some of the information, I guess, that was already out there that you may have been looking at. So if you look in the help files, you can search on part families. This is the part families section, and this is the part that I'm modeling. You'll notice some of the expressions. This is all metric. My part is inches, and they're not all here, so I just kind of assumed on some of the additional expressions that are required to control this thing. So once you've got all your expressions in your model, this is just a normal NX model. There's nothing special about it at all at this point. It's just a regular NX model with some expressions in it. So the next step is to actually create the model, and the key to it is using the expressions to control the dimensions. So the first thing we're going to do is just extrude the profile of the bracket. And we'll try and get through this as quickly as possible. So we're going to use the thickness to control that. This is going to be length 1, length 2, we need a constraint to connect the thickness of one leg to the thickness of the other leg, and then we're going to position it at 0, and then we just need the radius Okay, so there we go. So that's the profile, and this is controlled entirely by our expressions now. And then this is also going to be an expression. is going to be the width. Okay, now we need to do the end radiuses. That's not what I was hoping for. Okay, so just a few constraints, and then the end radius dimension, and then we'll just add something here to make sure that stays above. We don't get a zero thickness condition. Okay, so extrude that until extended. We're going to go to there, make sure it subtracts, and then we'll just do the other one quickly. Speed modeling here so you guys don't have to sit and watch this. Okay, almost got it. Oops. So this guy. Okay, so we've got the bracket legs and radiuses, and now we just need the holes. So we're just going to sketch a hole, and this is kind of where the tricky part comes in. So we're going to put it in the middle, and then we've got this dimension here, which is just single hole offset. Diameter is hole diameter. And then we need another one over here. And we got that and this. Okay, so one of these legs has an option for 2 holes, so we got to make another feature, and we got to add 2 holes. So we'll make a quick sketch again, and we've got this is the double hole edge offset. Double hole edge offset. And then we've got inner hole offset and outer hole offset. And again, okay, so that's it. The bracket is modeled and entirely controlled by expressions, at least the dimensions are. The only other thing we need to do to set up this model is we need to create expressions to control the suppression state of these two features, because any given bracket is not going to have this hole and these holes. It's going to have one or the other. So we just need to go into here and select the single hole and go into edit, let's see, feature suppressed by expression, and it's already got the feature selected, and we just want to create an expression for each selected feature. So do that, and I guess we could have selected them both and done this at one shot, but we can do, memory is repetition or whatever, right? Alright, so NX just made a couple expressions for the suppression state of those, and they're right here. So we got suppression status for simple hole 5, which is the single hole, and suppression status for simple hole 6. So this is the single hole, so we just want to set this equal to the expression that we created earlier. And we want to set this equal to the double hole expression. Alright, now the double hole expression had a value of 0, meaning that the suppression state is 0. Yeah, so double hole is 0 right now, and single hole is 1. So single hole is on, and the double hole is off. Obviously you can rename these to make this a little easier for you to deal with. Alright, so our model is all set up, and now we're ready to actually create the part family. So I've already done this. My part family is all set up, but I'll walk you through what I did. So you need to go to Tools, Part Families, and that's going to bring up the Part Families dialog. Now what you're going to see in this chosen columns list here is just these first two, part number and part name. And what you need to do is you need to select all of the expressions from this available columns list that you put in, and click on Add Column to add them to the chosen columns list. So all of these expressions here, don't worry about the p-values. Those are the those are the auto-created expressions. We're not worried about those. We're just worried about the named expressions that we created. So select all of them, choose Add Column, put them down here. You'll notice that not all of the expressions that you put in are in the available columns list, and that's because some of them are dependent on other expressions, and so they're not really able to be controlled independently. So once you get everything added, the next step is the part family save directory. So what this is every time you add a family member to an assembly, so you, from the reuse library, you drag the family, the template part or whatever, into your assembly, select the configuration that you want, and we'll go through this in just a second. Every time you do that, NX actually creates a part file that is that particular family member, and this directory is where it saves those family members. So my directory is just out on my network. It's a network folder. I've got this NX config folder, and then I use this part family save directory. And it's a good idea to put this on your network, because that way if multiple people are accessing this part family, you won't end up with redundant copies of the family members on everyone's computer. And if a family member has already been created and is in this directory, and someone else goes to add the same family member to a new assembly, NX will check this directory and see if it's already been created, and if so, it will just pull it in, so you don't end up with multiple copies. You just have one copy of each family member in this saved directory. And then if you use the as saved option when you load an assembly, it will go out and find those family members and pull them in. Alright, so set up the family save directory, network folder, and then you'll have the create button will be activated here. My create button is not activated because I've already created my spreadsheet. So you click create, Microsoft Excel will open, and what you'll have is you'll have this header row here, and then you'll have this first row of values. None of this stuff will be filled in, and none of this stuff will be filled in. So you have to give each family member a part number and a part name, and I just use the same for both. And then you have to fill in the dimensions for each family member. So I've got a couple different radiuses or radii. The whole diameter is the same. I've got different lengths, a couple different thicknesses, different widths, and then 3 of the family members have the single hole, and 3 of them have the double hole configuration. So once you've filled out your spreadsheet, you can go to the add-ins tab, and you've got the part family drop down here, and one of the options is apply values. You've got apply values, create parts, update parts, save family, and then cancel. Obviously cancel is pretty self-explanatory. Verify part will just check a particular row to make sure it's legit. Apply values will actually apply the selected row to your model. So I don't know what I have in there now. I think I have a single hole configuration in there now, so I'm going to choose one of these double hole configurations and go ahead and apply those values. It's going to put me back into NX, and it's going to update the model with those new values. So that just allows you to see what that configuration is going to look like. And then some of these other options here. So create parts will actually create whatever row you have selected. It will create that part family member and put it in the part family save directory that you specified. Update parts. If you have a row selected, it will update any parts. It will, will update that part in the part family save directory if it's there. If you don't have a row selected and you do update parts, it will look for all of the parts in the part family save directory and update them if you change this information. And then save family just saves the information in the spreadsheet inside the part family template. So if you add new members or whatever, you just do save family, and then when they're added to an assembly, the new members are available. So that's pretty much it for the part family template. That's what we've been working on all along, and this thing is done now. You don't have to create any of the family members. They get created on the fly as necessary when they're added to an assembly. So go ahead and click OK. Our part family template is all set. Spreadsheet's set up. Model's set up. The next thing we need to do is we need to set up the reuse library folder so that these parts can be pulled in, or so that this particular part family can be pulled in from the reuse library. So if you click on the reuse library tab, you should see some reuse examples. You'll probably see maybe this one, but you notice I've got the Endesin reuse library in here, and I've got a folder under it called brackets, and I can see my part family bracket, my template part, in this member select area. So the way to set that up is to go to your customer defaults, and if you've got multiple users, you should have site level defaults, and there's an NX A to Z article on how to set that up. It's the very first one. It's network configuration part 1. So set up the site level defaults, and then select the site level defaults. Go to Gateway Reuse Library, and you've got this native libraries here. So unlock that if it's locked, and you want to add your company reuse library folder here. So this first this is the name that you see over here, and then you've got the bar, and then you've got the folder. So again, you know, I just put a folder out here on my network, and this in standard parts. In there I put a folder called brackets. So I'm using Endesin standard parts as the reuse library folder. And then I'm going to lock that at the site level so that that's what everyone's going to see. Click OK. It's going to tell me I have to restart NX. I don't have to do that because that was already set up that way, but you'll have to do that to actually see this. So restart NX, and then you should have your company reuse library and then the brackets folder. Make sure that you actually copy the part family template that we created. You need to put that in the brackets folder, and then you'll see that here. So I'm going to close the bracket, save and close the bracket. I didn't save mine because I had already done it. And I'm going to make a new file, and then I'm going to go to the reuse library. I'm just going to drag my bracket in there, and I get to choose family member dialog. And these are all of the part family members that I put in the spreadsheet. I can also search. So if I've got hundreds of these things, I'm not going to want to find them. I'm just going to search. I want, you know, I want everything that has a length of 6. So 6-inch matching members. I've got two matching members with a 6-inch, you know, length 1. So I select one, click OK, and then I can add it to my assembly. And then if I save the assembly, it went ahead and it put that particular member inside the part family save directory. Okay, so that's it. That's it on part families. So it's a great way to create these adjustable parts that just can be dragged and dropped into assemblies. So good luck, have fun with NX.